Number 18 says it's time to get after it. So I think it's time for us to start the show. Welcome, guys, to another episode, another weekly episode of Conversations with Commodores. And it's not every week I get to have as a guest the pride of Wiregrass, Southeast Alabama, a proud Brantley Bulldog. We got number 18, Dexter Daniels, in the house. Hey, DD, what's happening, my friend?
What's going on? Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, no, I can assure you the pleasure is all on this end because I get to meet a new face. I get to make another friend, and we're going to talk about a good story tonight.
Yes,
I
sir.
want to talk about life in Brantley, the
Oh, man.
metropolis that it is. You got to tell folks who don't know what's the Wiregrass? Where's Brantley? And how did you get out of there? And talk a little bit about that experience as a child.
Definitely. So Brantley is Southeast Alabama, Crenshaw County. It's probably about 45, 50 minutes from the Florida line. So it's way down there.
Mhm.
About 55 minutes from Montgomery. So it's a little town, one stoplight, one stoplight town.
That's right.
My high school was kindergarten through 12th grade. So it's one school. You're there your whole life. Your whole life. So it was a small town, but you know, everyone knew everyone, the typical small town stories that you hear. You grew up with the same people from kindergarten through senior year. You can probably throw a rock and name everybody that stays in every house on Main Street.
That's
It's
right.
that type of environment. Not too much going on, but there were, we were a big sports town. Football was obviously very prominent for a 1A school. Our softball program is very successful. Basketball won some back-to-back state championships, and we're always pretty decent, right? In something. And football obviously has a great legacy, but growing up was, I mean, it was simple as you would think in a small town. Wasn't much going on, but that's all we knew. So it was a blast for us. We didn't have, different amusement parks or malls or things of that nature. So we grew up outside, in the 90s. I actually grew up in a smaller town outside of Brantley called Dozier, but it's the same county.
It's a
No,
suburb of Brantley.
exactly. But it was fun, man. It was I have it's four of us, three other siblings, and we grew up pretty close knit, all playing ball, cousins, family. Everyone was your family back then, any elder in the community, they were just like your grandparents and aunties and things of that nature. So it was simple living, but it was fun. That's all I knew at the time.
Well, I bet when the last Daniels graduated and eligibility ran out from your generation, it was a sad day for the high school programs.
It's funny you say that because every year, like you said, it was a Daniels playing to kind of continue that legacy. And
Uh-huh.
we got a few young ones that's coming through now, but it has been a little gap. So
Yeah,
looking
you got to
forward to
train them up. They got big shoes to fill. Now tell me in November you didn't come over to the Peanut Festival as a kid.
that. Peanut Festival, yes, sir. And Luverne, which is about 10 minutes up the road, they have the largest peanut boil in the world every year. So it's a pretty good situation for them.
Yeah, if you guys hadn't figured it out, Alabama, at least Southeast Alabama, likes to pride itself of being the peanut capital of the world. Now, Georgia has something to say about that, I'm
Sure.
sure. But at
I'm
least,
sure.
Alabama's got to claim something at some point besides maybe some high school football. But Dexter, growing up, how many kids ended up graduating in your class?
So we had 39 people in my graduating class, and we're one of the larger classes coming through Brantley. I think sixth grade graduation, we had roughly like 71.
Yeah.
And by the time we graduated, it was 39 people, which was considered a large class back then.
And then how many of those, if you remember, how many of those were guys? And then how many of the guys played one sport or another or multiple sports?
I can't remember how many of those were guys, but I do remember we had seven seniors on our football team.
Mhm.
So it was seven seniors. And I think all of us played pretty much every sport. I didn't play baseball. That's probably I tried it out because all my friends played, but it wasn't one of my strong points.
Sure,
But yeah,
sure.
we pretty much everyone played at least two or more sports.
Well, you know, to have seven out of a graduating class of 39, that's actually a big class of guys. But at what point, at what age did you even percolate the thoughts of maybe I want to play a sport after high school? And that start, some guys think of that in middle school and that's their goal and that's where they're working. Other guys, it just kind of falls into it and they don't stress over it. Not that you would have stressed, but where were you in that? Because I know that coming out of a small town and being as accomplished an athlete, you're a huge fish in a very small pond.
Right, right.
So how did you process that? When did that start forming that maybe I want to play on the next level somewhere?
I think it was probably middle school for me. I always knew I wanted to play ball growing up in, high school ball. And
Mm-hmm.
as I mentioned earlier, I have a long line of athletes
Mm-hmm.
and from cousins, close cousins that played before me. So it was a lot of pressure, not really pressure, but it was some big shoes to fill growing up because
Sure, sure.
all my cousins were good from all the way back. My mom's first cousin. So I always knew I was going to play, but I think in the eighth grade is when I really started to come into myself, started feeling myself a little bit and kind of see that separation a little bit as far as domination on the field. So probably eighth grade, eighth, ninth grade is when I was like, okay, this could be something I can get a scholarship for this.
Is Brantley a Florida State town, Auburn town, Bama? What school kind of dominates? Because you're so close to the Florida line. You're what, maybe an hour and a half from Tallahassee. I don't know. I'm guessing, but
Yeah, I would say, it's mixed, man. It's a house divided all throughout Crenshaw County.
mhm,
I personally was an Auburn fan growing up. First college football game I went to.
mhm.
If we looking way back, elementary school, I just like the colors better than the Crimson Tide colors. But yeah, I think it's a little mix, and you probably got some bandwagons out there for Alabama throughout the
Oh,
years,
sure.
but I think it's pretty even, and I think a lot of people are fans of Florida State in that area, just kind of just because it's so close. But I know my brother; he's a big Florida State fan. So
Well, during your youth, during your elementary and middle school and getting close to high school age, Bama was down except for 1 or 2 years. They hadn't won a title in quite a while. On the other hand, Auburn was strong with Cam.
yep,
Florida State was real strong with their program. So it makes sense if those
right,
two schools got your attention more so than Tuscaloosa did. But you came in what to Vanderbilt in '08, and what did Saban start? '07 is when he was a year before. So they really hadn't they really wouldn't be much on a radar back in that time period. So it kind of makes sense.
right, yep.
Well, when you weren't playing a sport, what kept you busy? What this is I'm talking about middle school and high school years, because we all know that to get into Vanderbilt, you got to have the grades, you got to have certain scores. But I suspect with four siblings, that was a pretty efficiently run household when it came to academics.
For sure. My mother was actually the valedictorian of her class, so I mean, education was always a high
Bar
priority.
high, yes, sir.
She set the bar high. I wasn't valedictorian, but my baby sister ended up being valedictorian of her class as well. But yeah, she's definitely, I would say she was one of those strict mothers growing up, at least through middle school. Then she kind of loosened the reins a little bit, but she set the foundation and set the standard early on. But, I've been working ever since I could remember as far as doing lawn with my uncles. And I always had jobs ever since I could work because I come from a very humble background. So I worked whenever I wasn't doing sports, and obviously when we got to high school, you start going to a few more parties and stuff like that. But I made sure I kept my priorities my priority. So
But it sounds like with the way your house was put together, was run, there wasn't a lot of loafing and laying around the couch a lot during the week. You had to get your stuff done, and then maybe you could have some downtime.
correct, definitely.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the recruiting process.
Yep.
Did you have success in the other sports like you did in football, or was football really the main focus for you in high school?
Well, I was a 3-year starter for basketball as well. But I was, almost 6'2", 6'1 3/4", and I played the 4 and the 5 in high school. So it was a smaller team.
Oh,
So,
you're a 1A school. Yeah.
so the it wasn't realistic for me to go anywhere in basketball, but I would definitely say I was probably top one of the top guys on my team. Definitely my senior year. My junior year, we had a pretty good team with some nice players. But as far as the recruiting process, that really started. It was late. I started getting letters my junior year, I believe. And that was after I took the ACT and got the score out there. And
Where were they coming from? Who was showing you some love early on?
I'll always say all the smart schools. Dartmouth, Georgia Tech was very strong. Uh, a lot of Ivy League schools in the Northeast, Brown, I believe, and Southern Miss was strong early on as well. And then a few local schools early on were strong. Then it started to pick up a little bit later, but I tell you what, I always tell this story, and you may get a kick out of it. I have an older cousin. He's a year older than me. His name was Jeffrey Daniels.
Okay.
When you talk about a specimen, this guy was 6'2", 225 linebacker in high school, and he was all state for like 3 years. So I played alongside him. And just to be completely honest, recruiters and colleges was coming to see him early on. And I remember LSU coming to this 1A school to see Jeffrey, and it was a scout.com combine. I believe it was in Tuscaloosa my sophomore year, and I wasn't invited. He was invited, and he just said, "I'm bringing my cousin with me." And after that combine, I started getting recruiting letters and things of that nature. But they came to watch him play,
Mhm.
and they saw me playing alongside of him. They was like, "Who is this guy?" Right. So that's
Yeah.
that's kind of how my recruiting process started. So I always give my cousin some props, Jeffrey, for
No, you know, Dexter, that happens so often
yeah,
that a guy will be scouted or a scout will come in to only look at this one guy, and then you catch the because you never know who's got their eyes on you. No, I think that's really cool. Now,
right.
how did you get on the Vanderbilt radar?
I think I was getting recruited pretty heavy by Auburn too. I went to a couple it wasn't a couple. I went to Auburn camp, and I think it was Coach Willis at the time.
Mhm.
He was a linebacker coach, and I really thought I was gonna get an offer from Auburn, and that was my dream school at the time. But that coaching staff, they went to Ole Miss. Coach Willis went to Ole Miss,
Mhm.
and they honored that scholarship, but it was at Ole Miss instead of Auburn. And that's whenever Vandy started coming on the scene heavy, is when Ole Miss started recruiting me heavy. So, word gets around.
Oh yeah,
I think it
yeah.
was my grades too. Obviously, my grades. I won Mr. Football for 1A that year, or I'm sorry, lineman of the year, which was like a linebacker category
Mhm.
that year. And that was like late senior year before I got an offer from Vanderbilt. I think it was like December-ish before I got the offer. But I think the that award plus the recruitment from Ole Miss picking up, because at that time it was Coach Houston Nutt, and that's when Vandy came on pretty strong, and it happened really quick. They have been making contact. I've been getting letters from Vanderbilt, but it wasn't anything that made me think I was going to get an offer until later.
That gosh, that happens so often that when one D1 school gets out there and extends that offer, it's amazing like wildfire. It starts to spread, and so that's Coach Bobby Johnson. That's one of his. What year did Coach Johnson coach up through for you?
It was through, I think, 2010, because
Yeah,
that's when Coach Caldwell took over.
that's right. So you had
2 years.
two seasons with
Yep.
him,
Hmm.
but your freshman year is memorable for many reasons, obviously directly to you, but in the bigger picture, we go back to a bowl game for the first time in in a number of many years.
Right. It's
I
80s.
don't want to get that quick that into it, but what I always like to hear, if you recall, is some of that transition going from a 1A school in South Alabama with 39 in your graduating class to now the SEC. When did you come back? When did you make your way up to Nashville after graduation? And share a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, it that also happened pretty quick. I think it was like maybe 2 weeks. I had maybe two. I know it wasn't three. It was about 2 weeks I had between the transition when I graduated. So I had to be at Vandy. And I didn't really know exactly what to expect. I went on an official visit early January, I think, somewhere in January. So I had been in that. That was my first time coming to Nashville on my official visit. So I kind of had a few, ideas of the coaching staff in the city, but moving in and my mom dropping me off that summer, it was like it was new to me, new city. I'm don't know anyone. So it was different. I would just say it was different, but what made it the transitions a lot smoother was the class I came in with. We were super close. Yeah.
Who are some of those guys?
Man, Sean Richardson, he was one of my roommates, DeAndre Jones, John L. Thomas was one of my roommates, Casey Hayward, Ryan Fowler, Ryan Seymour, Colt Nichter, Jabo, John Burrow, uh, uh, John Cole. I don't know if I said Archie, uh, Tristan Strong, uh, Taylor Loftley.
Man,
It was
you're naming some athletes right there.
it
Well,
was a bunch of them.
what was that like for you once you started competing and practicing and comparing your skill set with not only the other freshmen that you might be competing position wise, but then when the varsity comes in and you see, what the real competition looks like.
Man, it was good. It was cool, man. So coming in, I guess my first shocker, 1A ball is 1A ball, and I was considered like a hard hitter, right? So I could hit. I read pretty good as far as schemes or whatnot, but it took more than that. And I learned that pretty fast, right? Like you got to really be dialed in and know the plays and know different sets and motions and things of that nature. But just compare myself to my counterparts. Some of these guys came from larger schools. They had a little bit more acclimation as far as like playbooks and things of that nature. Tristan Strong came in as a man beast. He came in looking like a senior freshman year. So we used to always joke with him. So he was
I've heard those guys who are physically built, more mature looking. They came in with a mortgage and two kids.
yeah.
They're
So
middle age already.
and then DeAndre Jones, Archie. We came in with four linebackers that year, and I forgot Al Owens. I was just in Al's wedding in October, but he was a safety coming in. He ended up being a linebacker. I think Michael Powell, he ended up being a linebacker for one point. So it was about six people on our recruiting class that end up being linebackers at one point.
And that's just the new guys.
Yeah,
You already had some pretty
Chris
substantial
Marv and
linebackers on the roster.
yeah, it was deep. And that's one of the things in the recruiting process that I didn't think about at the time, like how deep the depth chart was as linebacker position. But I had the mindset, man, this is a great opportunity. It's in the SEC, it's an education. I'm gonna go and compete. But I didn't realize the extent of what that would look like until I got there. So it was definitely a wake-up call for sure.
Yeah, when I came in as a quarterback my freshman year, I was seventh.
Oh wow.
There's a whole bunch of guys in that room. That's right. That's right. Guys, I've got Dexter Daniels coming out of the Wiregrass, Brantley, Alabama, and he comes in with Coach Johnson's 2008 class. Were you redshirted? Did you play? Tell us about your freshman year.
Yeah, freshman year, I redshirted. I think it was like maybe three people that didn't. I think Sean Casey,
Mhm,
Ryan Fowler,
mhm.
um, that didn't redshirt. Maybe John Cole, I can't remember, but it was like three that did not redshirt, but the rest of us redshirted. And to be honest, we did all the things, but
Mhm.
we were just hanging out a lot of the year. We didn't travel. So
Right.
after they left on Fridays, we were all in the Commons. So all the freshmen were together in the same area. So it was a lot of bonding and hanging out for the most part outside of football. But I mean, I think for
It
me
probably
personally, I
made you
can't.
guys probably made you guys closer
Yeah,
as a
definitely.
team, as a unit. But did it upset you to be redshirted, or were you okay with it once when you were told that was going to happen?
I think we all were upset, naturally, just because
Sure,
these things you don't know about, coming in until you kind of see how it runs and
that's right. And
so that,
frankly, they don't see or know until they see the freshman mesh with the varsity.
right, right.
Yeah,
So I mean, we were definitely upset. We were competing just to be able to dress and travel because at that time, some games we didn't even dress for the home games. Back in 2008. So it was disappointing to especially be like, the the dominant person in your high school and come into this situation is like an eye opener. But
yeah.
it's a very humbling situation. But I think after a while, you kind of understood the reason and things of that nature and just had to work harder to kind of put yourself in that position.
Yeah, you do. You do get a big piece of humble pie. You're
Definitely.
freshman year from an athletic standpoint, but from an academic standpoint, did it help you at all to acclimate of the requirements to remain eligible and to figure out where you were going academically?
I think summer school helped a lot. And that's one of the main reasons why they bring us in a little bit early before the
Yeah,
season start
yeah.
to get acclimated. So it was helpful, and you having that time of not traveling helped out as well. But
Mhm.
in the same sense, nothing prepares you for the actual season and doing football and academics.
Yeah.
So some things the summer school couldn't really prepare you for live. So it was still difficult. It was Vanderbilt. So that was an eye-opening moment for me as well.
Did you have better grades during the season in the fall or in the spring when off season, so to speak?
Spring.
I'm not counting the summer. I'm talking about for me, the more programmed and prioritized I remained on track, the better I did academically. Like during the season, I
Mhm.
always had better grades because in the spring I knew I could, mess around. Oh, I got plenty of time. I can go to the lake today. I'll just
Right.
do it tonight or tomorrow. But that's just me. But what about how was your experience? Is
It was definitely the spring for me is where my better grades came
that
from.
right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
So you didn't go to the lake like I did and hang out and goof
Nah.
around for a whole day. What was your, I call it the welcome to the SEC moment? Was it in practice? Was it in a game? How about in the locker room or the weight room? Or what kind of moment do you recall when you're just like, man, I'm in the big time right now. It's
I
done.
think it definitely had to be the playbook. I remember Coach Beelan, he was my linebacker coach
Mhm.
freshman year. And I remember the play. I mean, I'm from 1A ball, so we had like maybe 2 pages, one page or something. And the playbook was
And
so
that was
thick,
handwritten.
it was handwritten. So I think the playbook was the, welcome to the SEC moment. But my first ever game was against LSU on kickoff return. So like just that was a welcome, and it was down there in LSU too. So that
Mhm.
was a welcome to the SEC moment. Just
No kidding.
it was
Saturday night in Baton Rouge.
it was crazy.
Wow. Now, Coach Beelan, side note, I think he's at Howard now,
Oh,
Coach. I
oh,
think so.
nice.
Yeah, in my years, we didn't get to play at LSU. They weren't on our rotation and that maybe that was a good thing. But I also played so long ago, South Carolina and Arkansas weren't even in the conference.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, that's how old I am. Dexter, tell us a little bit about the, we're going to go off the field for a moment. And every guy, regardless of your race, your religion, your background, big, small, sound, doesn't matter. Everybody acclimates on campus and deals with the social part of campus differently.
Right.
Some guys stay in that, I call it the McGugan bubble. They
Mm-hmm.
stay in that football or athletics friendship bubble and just don't really mingle with the regular kids on campus or take part in things that the campus offers. And
Right.
that's okay. There's no criticism. That's just somebody's personality. Others go completely the other way and they, fraternity and whatever's going on campus, they want to get involved because they want to make friends from all over. Where
Right.
did you, what, tell us about your friendship, not your friendship, your experience. Did you stay in that Magoogan bubble, or were you a get out and let's go do and see and have some fun out in the real world?
I think I was a get out person. I think I'm still a get out person, to be honest.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. I don't think you were a wallflower by any means.
No, so even growing up in Brantley, Alabama, it was somewhat of a mix, maybe 60-40, but it was different going to Vandy because a lot of the kids were from private schools. It was a predominantly white university, private university, so that was a different experience for me as well. But I've always been I always say lover of people, so I'm always intrigued by people's backgrounds and just their stories. So I'm always open to meeting and talking and just hanging out with different people. So I kind of extended that on college. I mean, on our campus as well. Even internally on the team, I talked and hung out with everybody. And I think I think I've been in like 7 weddings from the team since graduation. So I'm always hanging out and talking to different people from a genuine level because everyone has something to offer and I connect on different levels. But I was definitely a goer and I went to the fraternity, houses and parties and things around campus.
Well, I was going to ask you, were you in a fraternity or you just were what I'll call a social member, where you just kind of hung out but weren't formally part of it?
Yeah, I was not a part of a fraternity in undergrad. I ended up joining one graduate school, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. But in undergrad, I did not. I was not a part of it, but I hung out with a lot of them. DeAndre Jones, he was my roommate. He was a part of Alpha Phi Alpha as well, and him and his friends and Chris Marv, he was part of Kappa. So I hung out with those guys. Jameson, he was Omega. So I had friends in different fraternities, but I never joined undergrad.
Have you, just as a side question, have you met other football alums, Vanderbilt football alums, who are also your fraternity brothers?
Vandy, I mean, none that I didn't know
Mhm.
already. Like I know I mentioned DeAndre, and there's been a few this cross after the fact, but I knew a lot of them while I was in school, but none.
Sure, sure. I just didn't know. Anyway, we're kind of getting into the weeds with fraternity stuff. Guys, I've got Dexter Daniels. Dexter played 08 to 12. Let's take it to that bowl game,
Yeah.
Music City Bowl, Bobby Johnson. Our punter is the MVP. It is
Yeah.
the coldest game I've ever sat through.
Yes.
We spent over $50 with my daughters and I on hot chocolate alone, but I would not have missed a single play because we were so excited to be in that game. Were you on the sidelines? Were you in the stands? What was your experience?
Yeah, we're on the sidelines. The whole team got a chance to dress out, and I
Mhm.
think we share that same sentiment as that's probably the coldest week. Even the practices leading up to the game, it was insane. It was very cold, but coming in freshman year and making it to a bowl game, that's the expectation. College game day, freshman year,
Mhm.
beating Auburn at home. So that it was, I mean, we was on a high that year, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
leading up and getting a bowl game, it was an amazing experience for myself, really everyone, but it was a great experience.
Smartest thing I did was pack the ski gear to wear to the game. And I'm
Right.
thinking, it's not going to be that. And boy, it was, but that was so fun. So
Yeah.
fun. Talk a little bit about some of your game experiences in that, man, I didn't know that guy was that fast or that strong, or or maybe, and this is one of the key things about being a successful athlete, I think, is having that confidence in your abilities. Some say quiet confidence based on your personality. Others say, you're gonna hear, you're gonna know how I feel because I'm gonna let you know. And there's not everybody's personality is different.
Right.
But what was it like for you when you were making some plays and you were seeing some success and you realized this is just football? That's all this is football, and I know football. What
Right.
was when did you get that confidence or keep it or did it demonstrate to you?
I think it started at practice too. And, preparation is key, obviously. And just going up because I was on scout team a lot early on and just going to get some of the starters and having that success and scout player of the week and things of that nature early on. It kind of gave you a little confidence and transition to the game. I was on special teams majority of the time, but I would make tackles, but it's the same once you get there, the one-on-one. But I mean, obviously we played in the SEC. You got some you got some specimens out there, and we played against a lot of them. That 2008 Florida team was just
I was
loaded.
just getting ready to say Percy Harvin. Hello.
He was their whole team was just ridiculous. And
Yeah.
seeing that up close, and it's like you understood why they were so good. I mean, big, fast, strong. I remember my junior year, I went up against DJ Fluker for Alabama, the right tackle. He's like 6'8", 360.
When he
And
stands up, the sun hides behind him. I mean, he's so big of a guy.
it was insane. But I mean, the game's a lot faster for
Yeah.
sure. And you just got to be prepared to kind of give you that edge. But there is a difference in athletes and players. Like you can definitely see the
Mhm.
difference, and it's real relevant when you're out there.
One of the hardest things about being an athlete is coming to the realization that our career is going to end,
Yeah,
whether it's in college, whether it's whatever level you achieve. We hope that it's on our own terms, but we all can't be John Elway and Jerome Bettis and win the Super Bowl and retire.
right.
A lot of people, it's because of injury.
Yeah.
Others, it's eligibility. And it shakes us
Hmm.
because Dexter, you've been part of a team concept, a team mentality since you were a little bitty.
Right.
When did that start creeping into your mind that I know I got to have plan B or what's next in life? And how did you deal with it?
You know, I've always been a realist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, just coming through college, you got to think about it. Three different head coaches in
Mm-hmm.
4 years,
Yeah,
three
yeah.
different position coaches in 4 years, and there's a lot of changes. You're working hard. We had a great year the first year,
Mm-hmm.
2-2-10 seasons. Wasn't the funnest to be a part of, but
Yeah.
and then the last year when Coach Franklin came, it switched again. We got a chance to go to another bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
But at this time, just to be completely honest, I started, just losing the love for the game just through all the ups and downs, coaching changes. And I actually had one more year of eligibility to play, and I graduated early. So I had an opportunity to, I could have came back and been a part of that, I guess that 9-win season they had with Coach Franklin's second
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
But I couldn't imagine going through another spring, summer, and so I was kind of checked out at that point. So I started making preparations
Yeah.
personally at that point to say, okay, this is it for me. I
Mm-hmm.
need to do something different.
And when that day came, when that last game
Yeah,
came, did it dawn? I mean, did it really hit for you? You're sitting in the locker room. It's probably I don't know if it was Wake Forest or Tennessee back then, but you're done as an athlete. I mean,
yeah,
from an organized standpoint,
right.
but you're only 21, 22 years of age. It seems weird contrast, didn't it?
It was definitely weird. It was actually the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. We played Cincinnati,
Thank you. I'm sorry.
and
You're right. You're right.
anything that could have went wrong in that game, they had an interception return, kickoff return. Like they scored from every angle, but it was still a close game. I think it was 28-21. And it sucked to lose I think New Year's Eve or whatever the case may be. So I didn't really it didn't really hit me then, honestly. It didn't really hit me to like several weeks later whenever we had to report back second semester that spring, and I didn't have to be a part of meetings and things of that nature. I was a regular student for the first time.
How weird did that feel?
it was insane. Me and Larry Smith joke around because it's a joke. We went out 13 out of 14 straight days. So we still joke about that to
And
this
y'all got
day.
released into the wild.
So it was crazy in that sense, but it was surreal, man. It was,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it didn't really hit me. It hit me then. It's like, okay, this is it. But late spring is like, okay, what the heck am I gonna do now? So I need to start
Yeah.
find out how to apply to jobs and what I'm gonna do. Because at that point, I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I just knew I was done with football.
Now the student athletes on campus have all these programs that I'm so grateful are in place. The Ingram Center for Student Athlete Success is fantastic.
Mhm.
They're giving you they're giving you interview skills, how to do resumes, mental health. I mean, a whole range of things. We certainly didn't have any of that back in my day.
Right,
I don't know to what extent you guys had any kind of built in at McGugan support other than tutoring.
right.
But my question is, how did you network? How did you figure out your path? How did you figure out I need to be applying here, here, and here, and that kind of thing? Was it a Vanderbilt connection, or was it really something that you initiated?
It was a Vanderbilt connection. We had Miss Elizabeth. She was there in the academic department. I think she's now retired, but she
Mhm.
helped as much as she could. I wish I could remember the lady's name, but it was a program that just had began around the time I was getting ready to graduate, where they were connecting student athletes with career fairs and on-campus career fairs and things of that nature.
That's good to
And
hear.
yeah, and it was a former athlete, Ashley Bridge. She played women's basketball. She was a
Mhm,
year older than me, and
mhm,
she worked for this company called Centos.
mhm,
So she introduced me to Centos, and they had a management training program.
mhm,
Me not knowing what I wanted to do, this sounded like a great opportunity for me to kind of go in, learn the business through
mhm,
this trainee program. It
mhm,
was sort of like a graduate school, like an on-the-job training graduate school for this particular company. So, I interviewed with the help from Ashley and the academic person at this time, and I got the job, and that was my first offer, and I
mhm.
took it. I took it.
Were you still in school?
I was still in school that spring, and the job was in St. Louis, Missouri. I had to move to St. Louis, Missouri. Never
But
been.
how exciting was that going from the lows of the career football ending in January, 60, 90 days later, you now have your next transition in life. I'm sure that was exciting and probably nerve wracking and a whole bunch of fruit basket turnover emotions at that time.
It was a relief for sure, but I,
Oh,
I had
sure.
a sense of, it was a little nerve-wracking to go to another new city and move there alone. And it was a little bit different back then because I signed my lease and everything before even actually physically being there.
Wow.
So it was
Wow.
so when I first moved there, it was probably 2 days before I started working.
So
So
you're like 23,
yeah,
22.
22. Yeah, 22.
Wow. I'm sure from home they're like, he's off the payroll, but man, he's going to be so far away.
Yeah, right. So
Wow. Well, over a decade now.
yeah,
You get to be a ripe old man, aren't you? How do
it's
those how do those bones feel every day? Are you still working out or what you got going on?
I am. I still work out, just trying to get my diet consistent because I do a lot of traveling for work, so just trying to stay on point with the diet. But I work out pretty consistently for sure.
So what I'm hearing you say you're working on your dad bod early.
That's what it seems like. What it
Uh,
seems.
I know you're based in the Atlanta area now, but do you have to? I know you're out of town now, but do you
Yeah.
do a lot of travel for work, or are you able to stay in town most of the time?
Right now I've been on the go for a while now. I'm a sales director, so my team is spread out all over.
Mhm,
I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma now. We just hired a guy, so I had to come do some training. But you
mhm.
know, uh, it's been about 50% of the time travel now. So I'm on the go a lot.
Yeah, the modern athlete. and I include you in that generation. But it's quickly, and maybe not because you've been out 11, 12 years. You were just on the cusp of social media really becoming important.
Right.
Now, every kid's a brand. Every kid's got a gazillion followers and they're looking for the next, their deals. That
Mm-hmm.
obviously wasn't part of our experience.
Right.
But there's still a lot of experiences that you had and I had and the older guys had that can be shared with, I'll call them the modern athlete, the
Mm-hmm.
current eligible athletes. I'm kind of putting you on the spot a little bit as we get close to our end. What would you tell those athletes, guys or girls, regardless of what sport they play, when they're coming out of high school and they're making that transition to their next school? What kind of some solid advice would you share with them, maybe from your experiences?
One big one, man. I feel I could have had a better relationship with my coaches. Not that it was a bad relationship, but I didn't do the extra and go beyond to, have meetings and actually get a clear expectation. Hey, where are some of the things that I can improve on? What's lacking to cause me not to see as much time on the field? And how do I gain your trust to be able to be in this position? So just have that relationship, just basically a conversation with your coach, after practice, you've had guys on like Jordan Matthews. He was a year younger than me, but I would see Jordan Matthews out there on the jug machine after
Mm-hmm.
practice. And for me, I'm like, shoot, I'm going to the shower. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
go do this homework and get in bed. So, a lot of my encounters at Vandy is, you gotta take accountability for yourself of like how hard did you want it or how
Yeah.
bad did you want it. So, if it's something that you really want, just get a clear understanding from whoever the position coach, the head coach, and they'll lay it out there for you, and you just got to work towards getting to that point. And I would definitely say have that open line of communication with your
Well,
coaches.
that is such valuable advice. Unfortunately, in your situation, you would have had to have done that each year
Yeah,
with the turnover of the coaching staff. But no, you're right. And with any relationship in life,
yeah,
communication is just so key because you can't read another person's mind. You don't know what politics are back, and what's being said and what's being done without your knowledge. But you're right. As much communication as you can have with your coach and those involved in your I guess your well-being and your playing time and those things. So very very smart
right.
guys coming out of Brantley, Alabama. The Wiregrass 1A and makes it all the way up to the big time.
Yes, sir.
Dexter, thank you, my friend. It's been my pleasure to meet you and to have a little conversation and representing the Wiregrass a little bit tonight.
Yes,
But
sir.
thank you, bud. I hope that it's been a good conversation.
Bernard, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Guys, keep coming back. Next week, we got a good one. We got our walk-ons roundtable,
Oh,
the
nice.
experiences of walk-ons from different years. And it's unique. It's different when you come into a private school. It's not the same as state school. And these
Right.
guys are going to share their experiences. We got some good ones. DD, hang on just a second, bud, while I get done. Guys, anchor down. Keep
Anchor
coming back
down.
each week. Take care.